Commander Jack Morgan stood near the tall windows of Haven Prime Station, watching the ships come and go. The diplomatic summit had been going on for 3 days now, and he was tired. All the talking, all the arguments between different alien species who couldn't agree on anything. Sometimes he wondered why humanity had joined the Galactic Council at all. A small voice spoke behind him. "You are the human commander, yes?" Jack turned around. A young girl stood there, maybe 12 years old. She had pale blue skin and silver hair that seemed to glow softly. Her eyes were large and golden, marking her as Catherine. She wore fine robes that told him she was someone important. "I am," Jack said, kneeling down to be at her eye level. "And who are you?" "My name is Lyra Shin. I am the princess of the Catherine Empire." She spoke with careful pronunciation, as if she had practiced what to say. Jack felt his stomach drop. The Catherine Empire was one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Their military strength was legendary, and here was their princess talking to him alone in a corridor. "Princess Lyra, does your mother know you're here? Your guards?" The girl looked down at her feet. "No, I told them I needed to use the restroom. I do not have much time before they notice I am gone." "Then maybe we should get you back to them," Jack said gently. "They'll be worried." "Please wait," Lyra said quickly. "I came to find you for a reason." "An important reason?" Jack hesitated. Every instinct told him this could cause a diplomatic incident. But the girl looked so serious, so determined. He nodded. "All right. What did you need?" Lyra took a deep breath. "I watched you today. In the negotiation room, the Belkari and the Sorath were going to fight. Everyone could see it. But you stepped between them. You made them listen to each other. You found a solution that made both sides happy." "That's my job," Jack said. "I'm a mediator for humanity." "You are more than that," Lyra insisted. "You are wise. You are strong. But you use your strength to protect, not to hurt. You care about doing what is right." Jack felt uncomfortable with the praise. "Princess, I'm just doing my best like everyone else here." "That is not true," Lyra said firmly. "Most people here care only about their own worlds, their own power. But you care about everyone." She paused, and her golden eyes seemed to look right through him. "My mother needs someone like you." "Your mother? Empress Valera?" "Yes." Lyra's voice became quieter. "My father died 5 years ago. He was killed defending our homeworld from attackers. Since then, my mother has ruled alone. She works every day from dawn until late at night. She never rests. She never smiles anymore." Jack felt a familiar pain in his chest. He knew what loss looked like. He had seen it in the mirror for 8 years now. "I'm sorry about your father," he said softly. "Thank you," Lyra said, "but I did not come just to tell you this. I came to ask you something. Something very important." Jack waited, unsure of what could come next. Lyra straightened her shoulders as if preparing herself. "Commander Morgan, my mother needs a partner. Someone to help her lead our empire. Someone strong and wise. And I need a father. Someone who will teach me and protect me and care about me." She looked directly into his eyes. "I want you to marry my mother and become my father." For a long moment, Jack couldn't speak. He stared at the young princess, wondering if he had heard her correctly. Finally, he found his voice. "Princess Lyra, that's not something I can just decide. That's not how these things work." "Why not?" Lyra asked. "In our culture, marriages are often arranged for political reasons. My mother's council wants her to marry someone from a powerful Catherine family. But those men only want power. They do not care about our people. They do not care about her." Her voice became passionate. "But you would care. I have watched humans. I have studied your people. You value love and loyalty. You would be a good partner to her. A good father to me." Jack ran his hand through his hair, trying to think. "Princess, your mother doesn't even know me. I'm just another diplomat to her. And I'm human. Doesn't that matter to your people?" "It matters to some," Lyra admitted. "But it should not matter to the ones who truly care about our empire's future. Humans have proven themselves. You fought beside us in the sector wars. You saved many Catherine lives." She stepped closer. "And my mother is lonely. I see it every day. She pretends to be strong, but at night I hear her crying in her chambers. She needs someone, but she will never ask for help. She thinks she must bear everything alone." Jack's heart ached at the image. He thought of his own wife, Sarah, who had died when their colony was attacked. He remembered the loneliness, the weight of continuing when part of you was gone. "Even if what you're saying is true," Jack said carefully, I can't just approach an empress and propose marriage. That's not appropriate. That could cause serious problems between our peoples. Then what should I do? Lyra asked, and for the first time she looked like the child she was. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. I just want my mother to be happy again. I want a family again. Is that so wrong? No, Jack said gently. It's not wrong at all. It's very brave of you to come here and tell me this. He thought for a moment. Princess, I promise I will think about what you've said. But you need to go back to your guards now. They'll be looking for you. Will you meet with my mother? Please, just talk to her. You will see what I mean. Jack knew he should say no. This was complicated and dangerous. But looking at Lyra's hopeful face, he couldn't refuse. I'll request an audience with her. But I make no promises beyond that. Do you understand? Lyra's face lit up with joy. Yes. Thank you, Commander Morgan. Thank you so much. She reached out and took his hand, squeezing it. You are a good man. I knew I was right about you. Before Jack could respond, Lyra turned and ran down the corridor, her robes flowing behind her. Jack watched her go, his mind spinning with everything that had just happened. He looked back out the window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there was the Catherine homeworld, and on it, an empress who had no idea her daughter had just tried to find her a husband. Jack sighed deeply. His life had just become much more complicated. But as he thought about Lyra's words about an empress who cried alone at night, about a child who just wanted a father, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Maybe this was crazy. Maybe it would never work. But maybe, just maybe, it was worth trying to find out. He would request that audience. He would meet Empress Valeria. And then he would see what happened next. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter as he made his decision. 2 days passed before Jack received a response to his request for an audience. 2 long days where he questioned his decision 100 times. What was he thinking? He was about to meet with one of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy to explain that her daughter had asked him to marry her. It sounded insane even in his own head. The message came through on his personal communicator. Empress Valeria would see him in her private chambers on the station, alone. That last word made him nervous. Private meetings between leaders were rare. They usually meant something serious was about to be discussed. Jack dressed in his formal uniform, making sure everything was perfect. He checked his reflection in the mirror. At 38, he still looked young for a commander. His brown hair had a few gray streaks now, and his green eyes carried the weight of too many battles. But he stood straight and tall. If he was going to do this, he would do it with dignity. The walk to the Catherine section of the station felt longer than it was. 2 guards stood outside the Empress's chambers. They were massive, nearly 7 feet tall, with armor that gleamed under the lights. They studied Jack with suspicious eyes, but stepped aside when he gave his name. The doors opened and Jack entered. The room was beautiful. Soft blue lights glowed from the walls. Strange plants with silver leaves grew in corners. And in the center, standing by a table with star maps displayed on it, was Empress Valeria. She was taller than him by a few inches, as most Catherine were. Her skin was the same pale blue as her daughter's, and her silver hair was long and braided in an intricate pattern. She wore robes of deep purple, and her golden eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made him want to look away, but he held her gaze. Respect meant meeting someone's eyes even when it was hard. Commander Morgan, she said. Her voice was smooth and controlled. Please sit. Jack sat in the chair across from her. She remained standing for a moment, studying him. Then she sat as well, folding her hands on the table. I understand you wish to speak with me about a sensitive matter, she said. Jack took a breath. Yes, Your Majesty. First, I want to apologize if what I'm about to say causes any offense. That is not my intention. One of her eyebrows rose slightly. Go on. 2 days ago, your daughter came to me. Princess Lyra, she spoke to me about you. About your situation. Valeria's expression didn't change, but Jack saw her hands tighten slightly. What exactly did my daughter say? She told me that you've been ruling alone since your husband died. That you work too hard. That you're lonely. Jack forced himself to continue. She asked me to consider marrying you, to become her father and to help you lead your empire. For a long moment there was silence. Valeria stared at him, her face unreadable. Then, to Jack's surprise, she closed her eyes and sighed deeply. I see, she said quietly. I apologize for my daughter's behavior, Commander. She is young and does not understand the complexity of such matters. She's worried about you, Jack said. That's clear. And she's brave. It took courage to come to a stranger with something so personal. Valera opened her eyes and looked at him with something like pain. Lyra has been asking me to remarry for 2 years now. She sees other children with both parents and wants the same, but she does not understand that some things cannot be forced. No, they can't, Jack agreed. He hesitated, then decided to be honest. Your Majesty, I lost my wife 8 years ago. I know what it's like to be alone. To feel like you have to carry everything by yourself. Valera's gaze sharpened. You are widowed? Yes, Sarah was killed in a colony attack. We had only been married for 3 years. The old pain rose up, but it was duller now. Time had helped, even if it hadn't healed everything. I am sorry, Valera said, and her voice was genuinely kind. Losing a partner it leaves a hole that nothing else can fill. It does, Jack said. But it doesn't have to mean being alone forever. At least that's what I'm starting to realize. They sat in silence for a moment. The tension in the room had shifted. It was less formal now, more real. My council has been pressuring me to choose a new partner, Valera said suddenly. They believe the Empire needs stability, a strong alliance through marriage. They have presented me with several candidates. All of them are from powerful Kethrin families. All of them want the throne, not the person sitting on it. That must be difficult, Jack said. It is exhausting, Valera admitted. She seemed surprised by her own honesty. I am tired of people wanting something from me. I am tired of negotiations and politics and games. I just want— She stopped herself. I apologize. This is not appropriate conversation for someone I have just met. Maybe that's exactly why it is appropriate, Jack suggested. Sometimes it's easier to be honest with someone who has no expectations of you. Valera looked at him with curiosity. You are different from what I expected. I have seen you in the council meetings. You are skilled at negotiation. But there is also something else. Something genuine. I try to be myself, Jack said simply. Life's too short to pretend to be someone I'm not. Valera smiled slightly. It was the first time he had seen her smile, and it changed her whole face. She looked younger, less burdened. Commander Morgan, I want to be clear. I cannot seriously consider marriage to someone I barely know, regardless of what my daughter wishes. However, she paused, choosing her words carefully. I would not be opposed to getting to know you better. As colleagues, perhaps as friends. Jack felt relief wash over him. I would like that very much, Your Majesty. Please, when we are alone, call me Valera. I hear Your Majesty 1,000 times a day. Sometimes I forget my own name. All right, Valera. And I'm Jack. Before either of them could say more, an alarm sounded throughout the station. Red lights flashed. Valera stood immediately and Jack did the same. A voice came through the communication system. All council members report to the command center immediately. We have a situation. Valera and Jack looked at each other. Whatever was happening, it was serious. They moved quickly toward the door. The guards outside were already preparing to escort Valera. We should go together, Valera said to Jack. If this concerns the council, both our peoples need to be informed. They walked quickly through the corridors. Other diplomats and officials were hurrying in the same direction. When they reached the command center, they found it filled with worried faces. Admiral Chen from Earth's fleet stood at the main display. We've received distress calls from 3 colonies in the Outer Rim. All within the last hour. They're under attack. By whom? Someone asked. We don't know. The transmissions cut off before they could identify the attackers. But from what we could gather, the enemy ships are unlike anything we've seen before. The display showed a star map, with 3 systems marked in red. Jack studied it, his military training kicking in. The colonies were spread out, but in a pattern that suggested the attacks weren't random. We need to send help immediately, Valera said. Her voice was strong and commanding. The Kethrin fleet can be ready to depart within the hour. Earth's fleet will join you, Jack said. We have ships in that sector. Admiral Chen nodded. I'll coordinate with our forces. Commander Morgan, I'm assigning you as the human liaison for this operation. You'll work directly with the Kethrin fleet. Jack looked at Valera. She looked back at him. There was a question in her eyes, and he understood it. They would be working together, closely, for who knew how long. I accept the assignment, Jack said. As do I, Valera confirmed. Commander Morgan and I will coordinate our forces and leave as soon as possible. The meeting continued, with various leaders volunteering ships and resources. But Jack's mind was already moving ahead. He would be serving alongside Valera, facing an unknown enemy together. It wasn't how he had expected this day to go. As the meeting ended and people began to disperse, Valera approached him. It seems fate has decided to give us that opportunity to work together sooner than expected. It seems so, Jack agreed. I want you to know, Valera said quietly. Regardless of how this began, I am glad you will be with us. Your reputation as a tactician is well known. I trust we will work well together. I hope so, Jack said, for all our sakes. As they prepared to leave, Jack thought about Lyra's request. She had wanted him to help her mother lead. Now, in a way, that was exactly what he would be doing, not in the way the princess had imagined, but perhaps it was a start. Maybe this was the universe's way of answering her wish, or maybe it was just coincidence. Either way, Jack knew his life had just changed in ways he couldn't yet understand. The stars called them forward, and they would answer together. 6 months had passed since the fleet left Haven Prime. 6 months of hunting an enemy that struck without warning and disappeared just as quickly. Jack stood on the bridge of the Catherine flagship, the Eternal Dawn, studying the latest reports. Next to him, Valera reviewed the same information on her display. They hit another colony last night, Jack said. Same pattern as before. Quick strike, heavy damage, then gone before our ships could arrive. They are testing us, Valera said, learning our response times. Our tactics. We need to change our approach, Jack nodded. Over the past months, he and Valera had developed an easy working relationship. They thought differently, which was good. His human instinct for unconventional tactics paired well with her methodical Catherine strategic planning. Together, they had saved 3 colonies and captured valuable intelligence about their mysterious enemy. But they had also grown closer in other ways. They shared meals, talked late into the night about everything from military strategy to their childhoods. Jack had learned that Valera loved ancient poetry. She had learned that he couldn't cook to save his life but made excellent coffee. Small things, but they mattered. Commander Morgan, a moment, please. Jack turned to see Princess Lyra standing at the bridge entrance. She wore a simple training uniform now. Valera had brought her along for educational purposes, letting her see how the fleet operated. The girl had grown in these months, becoming more confident and mature. Of course, Princess, Jack said, moving to join her in a quieter corner of the bridge. Lyra looked up at him with a knowing smile. You are spending much time with my mother. We're working together, Jack said. That's the job. Is that all it is? Lyra asked innocently. Jack felt his face grow warm. Lyra, I see how she looks at you, the princess continued, and how you look at her when you think no one is watching. I am young, but I am not blind. It's complicated, Jack admitted. Why? You care about her. She cares about you. What is complicated? Politics, for one thing. Our people's. The fact that she's an empress and I'm just a commander. The fact that we're in the middle of a crisis. Jack ran his hand through his hair. There are 100 reasons to wait. Or 100 excuses, Lyra suggested gently. My father used to say that if you wait for the perfect moment, you will wait forever. Before Jack could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. He and Lyra rushed back to the main bridge. Valera was already calling out orders. Enemy ships detected. Multiple contacts. They're heading for the civilian transport convoy in Sector 7. Jack's blood went cold. Sector 7 was where they had evacuated families from threatened colonies. Thousands of civilians, including children, were on those transports. How long until they reach the convoy? He asked. 20 minutes, an officer reported. The convoy's escorts won't be enough to stop them. We can make it in 15 if we push the engines, Valera said. All ships maximum speed. We cannot let them reach those transports. The Eternal Dawn surged forward, the rest of the fleet following. Jack pulled up tactical displays, his mind racing through possibilities. The enemy always ran when they arrived in force, but this time felt different. This time felt like a trap, Valera, he said quietly. I think they want us to come. They're using the civilians as bait. She looked at him, understanding dawning in her eyes. You think they will ambush us? I know they will. But we still have to go. We can't leave those people. Agreed. She turned to her officers. Prepare for heavy engagement. All shields to maximum. Weapons ready? Jack moved to the communication station. All ships, stay tight. Watch for enemies coming from multiple vectors. They'll try to separate us. The minutes ticked by like hours. Finally, they dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the convoy. The civilian transports were there, moving slowly through space. And between them and the fleet were the enemy ships. But there were more than expected. Many more. It's the entire enemy fleet, an officer said, his voice shaking slightly. At least 50 warships. Valera stood tall, her voice calm and strong. Then we fight 50 warships. All vessels engage at will. Protect those transports at all costs. The battle began. The Eternal Dawn shook as enemy fire struck their shields. Jack coordinated the human ships, using hit-and-run tactics to draw enemy fire away from the Kethran vessels. Valera commanded the main battle line, her ships forming a wall between the enemy and the civilians. They were outnumbered, but they fought with everything they had. Jack saw ships on both sides explode, saw friends die, but he couldn't stop. The civilians had to survive. Then disaster struck. A group of enemy ships broke through their line, heading straight for Jack's command ship. He saw it coming but couldn't turn in time. The enemy weapons charged, ready to fire at close range. "Jack, break off." Valera's voice came through his communicator, urgent and afraid. "I can't. My engines are damaged. I can't move fast enough." For a moment, everything seemed to slow down. Jack thought of Sarah, of the family he had lost. He thought of Lyra and her hopeful face. And he thought of Valera, of all the conversations they had shared, of the connection they had built. Then the Eternal Dawn was there, sliding between Jack's ship and the enemy. Valera had moved her flagship, the most important ship in the Kethran fleet, to protect him. "No," Jack shouted. "Valera, get out of there!" "Not without you," she replied simply. The enemy fired. The Eternal Dawn's shields flashed and held, but barely. Return fire from the flagship destroyed 2 enemy ships. The others scattered. In that moment, the rest of the fleet rallied. They pushed forward with renewed strength, and the enemy began to retreat. Within minutes, the battle was over. The enemy fleet jumped away, leaving wreckage behind. The civilian transports were safe, but Jack's hands were shaking as he stood on his damaged bridge. "Get me a line to the Eternal Dawn," he ordered. Valera's face appeared on the screen. There was smoke behind her, and he could see damage to her bridge. But she was alive. She was okay. "You shouldn't have done that," Jack said. "You risked everything." "So did you," Valera replied. "Every day you risk yourself for others. Did you think I would do less? You're an empress. Your people need you, and I need you." The words were out before she could stop them. Her eyes widened slightly, as if she was surprised by her own honesty. Jack felt his heart hammering in his chest. Around him, his crew suddenly found other things to look at. He didn't care. "I need you too," he said quietly. "I have for a while now. I just didn't know how to say it." Valera smiled, and it was beautiful. "Then perhaps we should stop avoiding what is obvious to everyone else, including my very clever daughter." "Perhaps we should," Jack agreed. They talked for a few more minutes about repairs and regrouping, but everything had changed. They both knew it. Later, after the ships had docked together for repairs, Jack found Valera in her private chambers. Lyra was there too, and when she saw Jack enter, she grinned widely. "I should go study," Lyra announced, standing up quickly. As she passed Jack, she whispered, "About time." Then they were alone. Jack and Valera stood looking at each other, and suddenly he felt nervous like a teenager. "I almost lost you today," Valera said softly. "When I saw those ships about to fire on you, I did not think. I just acted. I could not bear the thought of a universe without you in it." Jack crossed the room and took her hands in his. "You saved my life. Thank you." "You have saved mine many times over these months," she said. "Not from death, but from loneliness. From forgetting what it feels like to connect with someone. To laugh, to hope for something beyond duty." "I feel the same way," Jack said. "You've reminded me that my life doesn't have to be just about work and regret. That I can have more. That I can be happy again." Valera reached up and touched his face gently. "My council will not approve. There will be those who say a human cannot be a proper partner for a Kethran empress. I know. And there will be humans who say I'm betraying my own kind by falling in love with an alien." Jack smiled. "But I stopped caring what other people think a long time ago." "Falling in love?" Valera repeated, her golden eyes shining. "Is that what this is?" "Yes," Jack said simply. "I love you, Valera. I think I have for months now." "I love you too," she whispered. "And I am tired of waiting for the right moment. Life is too short and too uncertain. They kissed then, and it felt like coming home after a long journey. When they finally pulled apart, they were both smiling. Outside the window, the stars shone bright. And somewhere on the ship, a young princess was probably celebrating her victory. She had wished for a father and a partner for her mother. It looked like her wish was coming true. The news spread through the fleet within hours. Commander Jack Morgan and Empress Valira were together. Some celebrated, others worried. But everyone had an opinion. Jack stood in the command center 3 days after the battle, reading reports from the intelligence division. They had finally identified their enemy. The Vorten Collective, they were called. A ruthless empire from beyond the explored regions of space. And they were not just raiding anymore. They were preparing for full-scale invasion. "This is worse than we thought," Admiral Chen said over the communication link. "Intelligence suggests they have 10 times more ships than what we fought. Maybe more." "Then we need help," Jack replied. "We need to bring this to the Galactic Council. Get every species to work together." Easier said than done. You know how divided the Council is. Getting them to agree on anything takes months. Jack thought for a moment. What if we gave them a reason to unite? A symbol of cooperation? What kind of symbol? Before Jack could answer, Valira entered the room. She looked troubled. "We need to talk," she said. "Privately." Jack excused himself from the call and followed Valira to a quiet observation deck. Through the windows, he could see their combined fleet. Human and Kethran ships working side by side. It should have been inspiring. But Valira's face told him something was wrong. "My council has learned about us," she said without preamble. "They are not pleased." "I expected that," Jack said carefully. "What did they say?" "They want me to end the relationship immediately. They say it makes me look weak, that I am putting personal feelings above the Empire's interests." Her voice was steady, but Jack could see the pain in her eyes. "Lord Caven was particularly vocal. He has wanted me to marry his son for years." "What do you want to do?" Jack asked. Valira looked at him with fierce determination. "I want to tell them that my personal life is my choice. That I will not be controlled by their politics, but—" She hesitated. "I also have to think of Lyra, of my people. If the Council turns against me, it could cause problems we cannot afford right now." Jack took her hand. "I won't let you sacrifice your happiness for politics. We'll find another way." "There might be one," Valira said slowly. "What if we use our relationship as that symbol you mentioned? What if we announce our intention to marry and use it to push for a unified response to the Vortans?" Jack considered this. "You mean make it political? Show that if humans and Kethrans can unite, so can the rest of the galaxy." "Exactly. It is risky. Some will say we are using our personal lives for political gain, but it might be the push the Council needs to take real action. Or it might make things worse," Jack pointed out. "Your nobles will be even more angry, and some humans won't like the idea of me marrying an alien empress." "I know, but doing nothing is not an option. The Vortans are coming, and we need everyone working together to stop them." Jack pulled her close. "Then we do it. Together. Whatever happens, we face it together." They spent the next day preparing. They contacted Admiral Chen and other key leaders, laying out their plan. The reaction was mixed, but most agreed it might work. A formal announcement was scheduled for the following morning, but that night everything changed. Jack was in his quarters when the alarms went off. Not battle alarms. Security alarms. He grabbed his weapon and ran into the corridor. Other officers were doing the same, all looking confused. "What's happening?" Jack asked a passing guard. "Assassination attempt, sir. Someone tried to kill the Empress and the Princess." Jack's blood turned to ice. He ran toward Valira's chambers, his heart pounding. Guards were everywhere. Some were injured. There was weapons fire damage on the walls. "Where is she?" Jack demanded. "Where's Valira?" "In the medical bay, sir. The Princess was hurt." Jack ran faster than he had ever run in his life. The medical bay was chaos. Doctors and nurses worked frantically. And there, on a medical bed, was Lyra. She was pale, unconscious, with bandages across her chest and shoulder. Valira stood beside the bed, holding her daughter's hand. Her face was a mask of controlled fury, but Jack could see the fear underneath. He went to her immediately. "What happened?" "Assassins. 3 of them. They came through the ventilation system." Valira's voice was tight. "They were after both of us. But Lyra, she saw them first. She pushed me out of the way and took the blast meant for me." Jack felt sick. That brave, wonderful girl had almost died protecting her mother. Will she be okay? The doctors say yes, but it was close. Very close. A tear rolled down Valera's cheek. She is only 12 years old, Jack. 12. And she almost died because of politics and hate. Jack put his arms around her and she leaned against him. Around them, the medical staff worked to stabilize Lyra. The minutes crawled by. Finally, the head doctor approached. She is stable now. She will need time to heal, but she should make a full recovery. Valera closed her eyes in relief. Thank you. Thank you so much. Can we stay with her? Jack asked. Of course. She should wake up in a few hours. They sat on either side of Lyra's bed holding her hands. Jack looked at this young girl who had changed his life. She had come to him 6 months ago with a simple request, and now she was here, injured because of the path that request had set them on. This is my fault, Valera whispered. If I had been stronger, if I had handled the council differently. No, Jack said firmly. This is the fault of whoever sent those assassins. You did nothing wrong. Neither did Lyra. But she would not have been in danger if not for our relationship. She was already in danger just by being a princess, Jack reminded her. And yes, our relationship made some people angry. But it also gave hope to others. I've seen the messages from common people across both our worlds. They like seeing us together. They like the idea that different species can work together, can love each other. Valera looked at him. Do you still think this is worth it? After this? More than ever, Jack said. Because giving up now would mean letting the people who did this win. It would mean letting fear and hate control us. I won't do that. Will you? Slowly, Valera shook her head. No, I will not. My daughter was willing to die to protect what she believed in. The least I can do is be as brave as she is. Hours later, Lyra's eyes fluttered open. She looked around, confused, then focused on her mother and Jack. Mom? Jack? Her voice was weak. We are here, sweetheart, Valera said, her voice breaking. You are safe now. Did they hurt you? Lyra asked. No, you saved me. You saved us both. Lyra smiled slightly. Good. That is what family does. Her eyes moved to Jack. You are staying, right? You are not leaving because of this? Jack squeezed her hand gently. I'm not going anywhere, Princess. You're stuck with me now. Good, Lyra said again, and closed her eyes, drifting back to sleep. Over the next few days, the investigation revealed that the assassins had been hired by a group of Kethran nobles who opposed any alliance with humanity. Lord Caven was among them. They were arrested and the evidence was made public. The reaction was swift and strong. Most Kethrans were horrified that their own nobles would try to kill their empress and princess. Support for Valera increased dramatically. Even among those who had opposed her relationship with Jack, many now defended her right to choose her own partner. Among humans, the response was equally supportive. The image of a young alien girl taking a blast to protect her mother touched hearts across human space. People who had been skeptical about alien relationships reconsidered their views. When Jack and Valera made their official announcement about their intention to marry, the response was overwhelmingly positive. More importantly, it had the effect they had hoped for. The Galactic Council agreed to an emergency session to discuss the Vortan threat. They are listening, Admiral Chen reported. Multiple species are pledging ships and resources. They see what you two have done working together and they want to be part of it. Jack stood with Valera in the observation deck, watching their fleet. Lyra was out of the medical bay now, recovering slowly but surely. She sat in a chair nearby, reading from a data pad. We did it, Valera said softly. We gave them a reason to hope. A reason to unite. We did, Jack agreed. But the hard part is still coming. The Vortans are still out there. And now we have to lead a united fleet against them. Together, Valera said. Together, Jack echoed. Lyra looked up from her reading. When you two get married, can I help plan the ceremony? I have so many ideas. Despite everything they had been through, despite the danger still ahead, Jack and Valera laughed. The sound was warm and full of life. Yes, Valera told her daughter. You can help plan everything. Excellent, Lyra said with satisfaction. Because I have been planning this since the day I met Jack. I have 3 notebooks full of ideas. Jack groaned playfully and Valera smiled. They were a family now. An unusual one, perhaps. A human commander, a Kethran empress, and a brave princess who had brought them together. And together, they would face whatever came next. The unified fleet gathered at the border of known space. 200 ships from 30 different worlds all working together for the first time in galactic history. At the center of it all were the Eternal Dawn and the human flagship Liberty. On their bridges stood Jack and Valera, coordinating the largest military operation the galaxy had ever seen. Intelligence had located the Vortan main fleet. They were preparing to launch their invasion within days. The Council had made a decision: strike first, strike hard, and show the Vortans that the galaxy would not be conquered easily. But Jack knew it would not be that simple. The Vortans had numbers on their side. Even with the unified fleet, they were still outnumbered 2-1. This battle would require more than ships and weapons. It would require sacrifice. Lyra sat in a chair on the Eternal Dawn's bridge. She had insisted on being there, despite still recovering from her injuries. Valera had tried to argue, but Lyra had used words that cut through any objection. You and Jack both fight for our future. I want to see it. I want to be part of it. Now the princess watched everything with sharp, intelligent eyes. She was no longer just a child. The assassination attempt had changed her, made her understand the true cost of leadership. All ships report ready, an officer announced. Valera looked at Jack on the view screen that connected their bridges. Are your people prepared? As ready as they'll ever be, Jack replied. The human fleet will take the left flank. We'll use our speed to hit their supply ships and draw their fighters away from your main force. Risky, Valera noted. You will be exposed, that's the idea. While they are focused on us, your heavy ships can break their battle line. It was a plan they had spent weeks developing. It combined human mobility with Kethran firepower, but it required perfect timing and trust between species that had never fought together before. All ships, Valera's voice rang out across the fleet. Today we fight not as separate worlds, but as one galaxy. We fight for our homes, for our families, for our future. Show these invaders that we will not be conquered. Cheers echoed across communication channels. Jack added his own words. Remember your training. Watch out for each other, and let's show them what we can do when we work together. The fleet jumped into hyperspace. When they emerged, the Vortan fleet was there, massive and dark against the stars. The enemy ships were strange, all sharp angles and black metal. They looked like weapons themselves. Here we go, Jack muttered. All human ships, follow my lead. Break formation and go for the supply vessels. The battle began. The Liberty led the human ships in a sweeping arc around the enemy fleet. Vortan fighters swarmed to intercept them just as planned. Meanwhile, the Kethran heavy cruisers and ships from other worlds formed a massive spearhead and drove straight into the enemy's center. The space around them filled with weapons fire and explosions. Ships on both sides took damage, but the plan was working. The enemy was splitting their attention, unable to focus on any one threat. Then Jack saw it. A massive Vortan command ship, larger than anything else in their fleet. It was hanging back, coordinating the enemy forces. If they could take it out, the Vortan fleet would lose cohesion. Valera, do you see that command ship? I do, but it is too well defended. We would lose too many ships trying to reach it. Jack studied the tactical display. There was a way, but it was dangerous. Extremely dangerous. What if we use the asteroid field to our left? My ships could go through it, come out behind their command ship. That field is full of debris and radiation. Ships could be destroyed just trying to navigate it. But if we succeed, we end this battle quickly. We save lives. Valera was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Do it. But be careful, Jack. Please, Jack turned to his crew. You heard the plan. It's going to be rough, but I know you can do this. Follow my lead and trust your training. The human ships broke away from the main battle and dove into the asteroid field. Immediately, alarms blared as rocks scraped against shields. Jack piloted the Liberty himself, weaving between massive boulders and through clouds of debris. Behind him, his fleet followed, some ships taking damage but all pressing forward. It felt like hours, but it was only minutes before they emerged on the other side. And there, right in front of them, was the Vortan command ship. It was vulnerable, its shields facing the wrong direction. All ships, concentrate fire on that command vessel. Everything you have. The human fleet opened fire. Missiles and energy beams slammed into the Vortan ship. Its shields flickered and failed. Explosions rippled across its hull. But it was not destroyed yet, and it was turning to face them, charging its massive weapons. It is going to fire, someone shouted. We need to pull back. No, Jack said. We finish this. All power to weapons. Keep firing. On the eternal dawn, Valera watched in horror as the Vortan command ship's weapons reached full charge. "Jack, you need to retreat now." But Jack did not retreat. Neither did his fleet. They kept firing, putting everything they had into destroying that ship. And finally, with a massive explosion that lit up space like a new sun, the Vortan command ship broke apart. The effect on the enemy fleet was immediate. Their coordination fell apart. Ships began to retreat or fight independently. The unified fleet pressed their advantage, and within an hour, the battle was turning in their favor. But Jack's fleet had paid a price. The Liberty's engines were damaged. Several other human ships were in similar condition. They could not run if the enemy counterattacked. "All ships," Valera's voice came over the communication channel, strong and clear, "form defensive positions around the human fleet. We protect our allies." The Kethrin ships and vessels from other worlds moved to shield Jack's damaged ships. The Vortans, seeing their command ship destroyed and facing a united enemy, made their decision. They jumped away, retreating back into unknown space. The battle was over. They had won. Jack leaned back in his chair, exhausted. Around him, his crew cheered. But he just felt tired and grateful to be alive. "Get me a line to the eternal dawn." Valera's face appeared on screen. There were tears on her cheeks. "You foolish brave man. You almost got yourself killed, but I didn't, and we won. That's what matters." "What matters is that you are alive," Valera said fiercely. "Do not ever scare me like that again." Jack smiled. "I'll try not to. How's Lyra?" The screen shifted to show Lyra, who was grinning widely. "That was amazing. Did you see how the enemy fleet fell apart after you destroyed their command ship? It was just like in the history books." "I'm glad you enjoyed the show, Princess," Jack said, laughing despite his exhaustion. "But maybe next time we can plan something less dramatic." "Where is the fun in that?" Lyra asked. The fleet returned to Haven Prime as heroes. The victory had cost them ships and lives, but they had proven that the galaxy could stand together against any threat. The Vortans would think twice before trying to invade again. More importantly, the unity forged in battle did not disappear afterward. The Galactic Council formally established a joint defense force, with rotating leadership from different species. And they created a new position, co-chairs of Galactic Defense. The first to hold this position would be Empress Valera and Commander Jack Morgan. Their wedding was planned for 2 weeks after their return. It would be held on the Kethrin homeworld, in the palace gardens where Valera's ancestors had ruled for generations. Representatives from hundreds of worlds requested to attend. Jack stood in his quarters the night before the wedding, looking at the formal clothes laid out for him. They were a combination of human and Kethrin styles, symbolizing the union of their peoples. He felt nervous in a way he hadn't felt even during the battle. A knock came at the door. "Come in," he called. Lyra entered, wearing a beautiful dress of silver and blue. She looked older somehow, more mature. The events of the past months had changed her from a girl into a young woman. "I wanted to thank you," she said, sitting down in a chair, "for everything you have done. For my mother. For our people. For me." Jack sat down across from her. "You don't need to thank me, Lyra. You are the one who started all this. You had the courage to ask a stranger for help. That takes real bravery." "I was scared," Lyra admitted. "When I came to you that first day, I did not know if you would laugh at me or be angry. But I knew I had to try. My mother was so sad and I wanted her to be happy again." "Is she happy now?" Jack asked. Lyra smiled. "She is. I hear her laughing again. She smiles all the time. And she talks about the future in a way she never did before. You gave her hope, Jack. You gave us all hope." "Your mother gave me hope too," Jack said. "She reminded me that life can be good again, that I could have a family again." "Will you really adopt me?" Lyra asked quietly. "Tomorrow during the ceremony, you are supposed to officially become my father. But you do not have to if you do not want to. I know I asked you to, but I was just a child then. I did not understand what I was asking." Jack knelt down in front of her chair and took her hands. "Lyra, I would be honored to be your father. You are brave and kind and smart. Any father would be lucky to have you as a daughter. The question is, are you sure you want me? I am not Kethrin. I cannot replace your birth father." "I do not want you to replace him," Lyra said, tears in her eyes. "I will always love my birth father. But there is room in my heart for you too. You have already been like a father to me these past months. Tomorrow just makes it official." They hugged and Jack felt his own eyes getting wet. He had not expected to have a family again, but here it was in the most unexpected form. The next day dawned bright and clear. The palace gardens were filled with flowers from 100 worlds. Representatives from across the galaxy filled the seats. At the front stood Jack, wearing his ceremonial clothes, his hands shaking slightly. Then Valera appeared, walking down the aisle with Lyra at her side. She wore robes of deep purple and silver, with a crown that sparkled in the sunlight. But it was her smile that took Jack's breath away. She looked radiant, happy, and absolutely beautiful. They stood together before the assembled guests. A Kethran priest and a human minister co-officiated, blessing their union in 2 languages. They exchanged vows, promising to stand together in all things. They exchanged rings, symbols of their eternal commitment. Then came the adoption ceremony. Lyra stepped forward and Jack knelt before her. He spoke the ancient Kethran words that made her his daughter. She spoke the human words that made him her father. When they stood, they were officially family. The celebration lasted for 3 days. There was music and food and dancing. Species that had been enemies for generations shared drinks and told stories. The galaxy felt smaller, more connected. On the 3rd night, Jack and Valera stood in the palace gardens with Lyra, watching the stars. Their stars. Their galaxy. "Do you think we really changed things?" Valera asked softly. "Or will everyone go back to their old ways once the celebration ends?" "I think we planted a seed," Jack said. "And like any seed, it will take time to grow. But I believe it will grow. People have seen what is possible when we work together. They will not forget that easily." "I hope you are right," Valera said. Lyra looked up at them both. "Of course he is right. You two proved that love is stronger than hate, that unity is stronger than division. That is a lesson the galaxy will not forget." Jack put his arm around his wife and his daughter, his family, his impossible, wonderful family. Above them, the stars shone bright, full of promise and possibility. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but they would face those challenges together. Not just the 3 of them, but all the peoples of the galaxy united in hope. And it had all started with a young girl who had the courage to ask a stranger for help, who had wished for a father and a partner for her mother, who had believed that sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. Her wish had come true. And in coming true, it had changed everything.